is Dr. Stephanie Christian. Welcome back to Tuesdays with Timeless. So much of my practice is repairing sun damage, and I talk all the time about sunscreen, but I haven't gone into depth about sunscreen, so I thought that's what I would do today. Those of us who grew up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s didn't have sunscreen. It hadn't been developed yet. We had tanning lotion, tanning oil, tanning butter, and many of us used baby oil with iodine in it and album covers covered with aluminum foil. And we did a lot of damage to our skin. We had sunburns and we had suntans, and we have suffered the consequences in terms of skin damage and sometimes skin cancers that we have experienced decades later. So in order to talk about sunscreen, which wasn't really in common use until the 70s, I have to talk about UVA rays and UVB rays. Those are the UVA rays from the sun that get to the Earth's surface that affect the skin. I'll start with UVB rays because those were the first ones that were understood by scientists. UVB rays are the ones that cause redness and pink. They cause sunburns. They are worse between 10 and 4, although originally we thought they were worse between 10 and 2, and that's what my generation was taught. But they're actually worse between 10 and 4 in the summer and closest to the equator. So that's how we were taught to put on sunscreen originally. Put it on in the summer between 10 and 4, and when you go south on vacation. The UVB rays, in addition to causing sunburns, also cause the 3 major skin cancers, melanoma being the worst, but also squamous cell carcinoma, the second worst, and basal cell carcinoma, the most common. A while after UVB rays were discovered and really investigated, UVA rays started catching everyone's attention. UVA rays are quite different. UVA rays cause tanning of the skin, but they also cause all 3 of those common skin cancers. They also cause premature aging of the skin, brown spots, enlarged pores, visible capillaries. They accelerate the natural aging of the skin, so they accelerate thinning of the skin, so sagging, and they accelerate fine lines and wrinkles. So if you think about that sort of vintage purse look that comes with someone who overuses the sun or overuses tanning beds, that's all coming from UVA rays. Someone who has brown spots all over their skin, someone who has bad wrinkling or bad sagging, that's sun damage. Someone who has the vertical lines on their skin, vertical lines are always sun damage. So how else are UVA rays different from UVB rays? Well, they are present 365 days of the year, not just in the summer and not just close to the equator. And they're present from dawn until dusk. And of those 365 days, they are pretty much equally potent throughout the year. And they penetrate ozone, clouds, and glass, which means that you are getting them through the windows of your car, at home, and at work, even on cloudy days in the winter. Very different from UVB rays. And all of this means that you have to be using a good sunscreen every single day of the year. That is a complete paradigm shift for people from my generation who were taught to use sunscreen, in the middle of the day in the summer and when we went south on vacation. You have to use a good sunscreen 365 days of the year. Doesn't matter if you're only in your car driving to work. It doesn't matter if it's a cloudy day. It doesn't matter if it's January and we here in Cleveland are not even seeing the sun. You're getting the UVA rays. And then it got even worse. In 2012, there was a study that came out of Stony Brook University, and they found that you get UVA rays from fluorescent bulbs. That really changes the situation, because in any commercial building, you're under fluorescent bulbs. So if you work in retail or an office building or in a hospital or a doctor's office or in a school or in a university, you're under fluorescent bulbs all day. So once again, You need to be using a good sunscreen every single day. So what's a good sunscreen? Well, it has zinc in it. Plain and simple, it needs to have zinc. Zinc is a mineral sunscreen. You rub it in and it's instantly effective against both UVA and UVB rays. It acts like a mirror. Those rays come down, hit it, and they bounce off. It's effective until you swim it off, sweat it off, or wash it off. It's safe for babies. It doesn't cause cancer. It doesn't worsen acne. It doesn't damage coral reefs unless you touch the coral reefs, but simply touching coral reefs will kill them. So it's all around a great sunscreen. It's not like when we were kids and the lifeguards had white noses. It's micronized now, and there is no scientific evidence that the micronization increases any kind of internal absorption or internal damage. There are other mineral sunscreens. Titanium dioxide is one, but titanium dioxide only protects against UVB rays, not UVA rays. There's also iron oxide, but iron oxide is never listed as one of the active ingredients. You'll only find it in the general ingredients. And what iron oxide does is it potentiates the zinc oxide, and it also protects against the toxins, the other toxins, the environmental toxins in the air. And so it is a good thing to potentiate the benefits, the anti-aging benefits of a sunscreen. The counterpoint to a mineral-based sunscreen is a chemical sunscreen. And the way a chemical sunscreen works is that you rub it into your skin and it sets up a chemical interaction with the skin. It takes 30 minutes for that chemical interaction to set up, which is why the FDA mandates that on every package of sunscreen, it says that you should wait 30 minutes before you go outside. Well, we just talked about the fact that you don't have to be outside to get the damage from UVA rays. But you're not protected from chemical sunscreens for 30 minutes. Well, that chemical interaction burns itself out after 2 hours. So the FDA also mandates that all sunscreens have to be reapplied after 2 hours. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm too busy at work to reapply a sunscreen every 2 hours and then not be protected for the first 30 minutes. I need a sunscreen that's going to protect me from the time I put it on, and then if I go to the gym, I can reapply afterwards. So chemical sunscreen's not going to do it for me. The other problems with chemical sunscreens is that some of them have been shown to cause cancers, and a number of them have been designated to not be safe for babies. A lot of them worsen acne, and in the lab with insects, fish, and birds, a number of them have been found to interrupt the hormonal cascade. The studies will never be done with humans. So we don't know what that effect will be on humans. But those results were compelling enough that the EU and Australia have pulled those chemical sunscreens. It's not the way the FDA works. So those chemical sunscreens are still available in the United States. We have other sunscreens that are excellent. So why use a chemical sunscreen that is not effective for the first 30 minutes, that only lasts for 2 hours, then has to be reapplied, and once again is not effective for the first 30 minutes, that worsens acne, that is not safe for babies, that can cause cancer, when we have zinc oxide that is just sort of all around great and protects against UVA and UVB. So the number one lesson is to use a zinc-based sunscreen 365 days of the year. The number two lesson is when you use a zinc-based sunscreen, go from your hairline down to your nipple line. You've seen lots of women who've spent time and money on their face and then have forgotten what frames the face. You don't want the neck and the décolleté to look 20 to 30 years older than the face. They should all look the same. The next question people often have is, well, what about all the different types of skin? Well, there are sunscreens for all those different types of skin, for oily skin and acneic skin and combination skin and dry skin, and even for different pigmented skins. And so our job is to find the right sunscreen for you. So I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, please comment below. I love that feedback and I always answer questions. Have a wonderful week and I'll see you next week.